What's up, everyone? In 2078, the new economic bloc, or NEB, has controlled all mining operations in the solar system for 50 years. 20 years ago, on the distant planet Sirius 6b, the NEB discovered a new energy source called beryllium, which could solve Earth's energy crisis. However, mining this material released lethal radiation and pollution. The Alliance, a federation of miners and scientists, demanded that operations stop, but the NEB responded with military force. This conflict sparked a Cold War back on Earth, but the real fighting happened exclusively on Sirius 6b. Soon, the NEB began using nuclear bombs, wiping out most of the population and devastating the planet. The Alliance retreated into fortified bunkers, and in the 10th year of war, only a handful of soldiers remain. Inside one bunker, some miners are gambling and passing the time when they spot movement on their security cameras. A lone NEB soldier is approaching the facility on foot. When he gets close enough, they hold their fire because something feels off. Suddenly, a high-pitched shriek cuts through the air as strange mechanical creatures emerge from the ground. These are the Screamers, autonomous killing machines designed by Alliance scientists. The soldier opens fire, but more and more Screamers swarm him. He pulls out a metal cylinder just before they slice off his arm, then his leg, and finally finish him off. The miners watching are horrified. Commander Chuck Elbarack arrives and tells them that without the Screamers, they would have lost the war long ago. They wonder why a single NEB soldier would approach the bunker alone. One miner, Landowska, realizes the soldier wanted them to see that cylinder. Chuck decides to retrieve it. He activates a wrist tab that broadcasts a signal, fooling the Screamers into thinking his heart has stopped, then steps outside. The soldier's leg vanishes as Screamers drag it away, then the rest of the body follows. When they try to take the severed arm too, Chuck opens fire to scare them off. He grabs the cylinder and discovers it's a message for the Alliance. He brings it to Commander Joseph A. Hendrick's son, noting how strange it is to see an NEB soldier alone after 6 months of complete silence. Hendrick's son can't open the cylinder. It bursts open on its own and projects a recording. It was sent by the NEB Marshal himself, requesting peace negotiations. Chuck thinks it's great news, but Hendrick's son suspects a trick. He orders his communications officer, Corporal McDonald, to send a message to Earth asking how to proceed. She also informs him that a commercial transport is requesting emergency landing clearance. The bunker is far from any shipping lanes, so Hendrick's son finds this suspicious. He tells her to ask about the nature of the emergency. Meanwhile, he and Chuck notice the message includes a map of the NEB command post. Hendrick's son finds it odd that they would send only one soldier instead of a full delegation, especially since their radio has been silent for 2 weeks. Later, Secretary Green appears via hologram to speak with Hendrick's son. He confirms that the NEB is requesting a ceasefire so both sides can finally end the war. Green reveals that Titan IV has been found to have no radiation, so the NEB can start mining there soon. Right then, Green's hologram begins to glitch and dissolve. Radiation from an approaching dust storm is interfering with the signal. After adjusting some controls, the image stabilizes. A segment of the message was lost, so they only hear Green asking them not to contact the NEB base directly to avoid compromising their chances for peace. After the message ends, they go eat dinner and discuss whether peace is even realistic. Chuck asks Hendrick's son if he'll look up his ex-wife after all this is over, but Hendrick's son doubts she would take him back. Suddenly, the bunker trembles, the lights go out, and furniture crashes around them. Everyone rushes outside to find a crashed transport ship nearby. Some men put out the fire while others search for survivors. They quickly realize the passengers are not civilians. This was no commercial vessel. Everyone on board is dead, but they manage to pull one survivor from the wreckage. Outside, they find the words, "Transport Sirius 6b" on the hull, which makes no sense since this planet has no transport service. When they inspect the cargo, they are shocked to find dozens of crates full of weapons, including a nuclear reactor. The survivor's name is Ace Jefferson, a private from Earth, and they rush him into the bunker since he doesn't have a wrist tab. However, he runs back into the wreckage to grab something. The Screamers immediately zero in on him. The team opens fire to keep them at bay, but one reaches the plane and cuts a hole in the hull to steal a body. After retrieving his disc player, Ace tries to escape but is blocked by a screamer. Fortunately, Hendrik's son shoots it before it can hurt him. Later in the bunker, Hendrik's son examines pieces of the screamer he downed. This model has a new, improved chip. Ace reveals he is an artillery specialist and is curious about the screamers. Hendrik's son explains that the Alliance developed them on Earth to neutralize the war effort there. When Ace tries to touch one, he nearly loses his fingers. Hendrik's son notices the screamer's data shows it has been modifying itself. Chuck joins them and tells Ace about the nuclear reactor in the wreckage. The ship was disguised as a civilian transport. Ace had no idea. He explains all the passengers were heading to Titan to continue fighting the NEB. Confused, Hendrik's son mentions Green's message. Ace informs him that Green died 2 years ago. Furious, Hendrik's son trashes his office before discussing the situation with Chuck, who refuses to believe they've been abandoned. He argues that the Alliance wouldn't keep sending supplies if they had given up on them. Hendrik's son shouts at him to accept the truth. They have been betrayed and left to die. The Marshal likely knows this, which is why he sent the map. Hendrik's son decides to attend the meeting. Chuck wants to go, but Hendrickson puts him in command of the bunker and takes Ace instead. Before they leave, Chuck gives Ace his own wrist tab. He explains that screamers only attack living things because they detect heartbeats. The tab transmits a signal that makes it seem like their hearts have stopped, though radiation sometimes corrupts the circuits. Armed and ready, Hendrik's son and Ace leave the bunker. Ace plays music on his disc player as they hike through snowy terrain. When he complains about the terrible air, Hendrik's son explains the radiation causes it and gives him a special red cigarette that protects against the toxins. They observe the abandoned mines in the distance. Hendrik's son points out that this used to be the most profitable business in the galaxy. Eventually, they reach the ruins of a city that was bombed by the NEB, killing thousands of civilians. Hendrik's son shares that he came to this planet 20 years ago as a miner. Back then, the crew worked for the NEB. When they refused to continue mining due to the radiation, the NEB bombed the area after a 4-year standoff. The crew has been hiding in the bunker ever since. Their conversation is interrupted by high-pitched shrieks. They watch a screamer drag a dead rat from under the snow. Ace opens fire, and the screamer flees. He asks why they collect corpses, and Hendrik's son explains that rotting meat produces methane, which they use as fuel. The screamers reproduce underground in a fully automated process. They manufacture themselves. Nobody knows how many there are. As they continue walking, they hear a noise and hit the deck. They aim their weapons, only to discover a small child holding a teddy bear. Hendrik's son approaches him and learns the boy's name is David. He lives alone in the ruins and says he survives by eating food, though he won't specify what kind. He claims to have avoided the screamers by hiding. He begs the men to take him with them. Hendrik's son initially refuses, giving him some food and promising to pick him up in 2 days on their way back. But Ace insists they can't abandon him, and David keeps pleading. Hendrik's son finally agrees. As night falls, the group rests inside an old building and lights a fire. Hendrik's son calls the bunker and learns they had a new arrival, but the connection is weak. He picks up a rock and is startled when it suddenly sprouts limbs and a head. David laughs and pushes the strange insect-like creature away. Later, Ace tries to relax. He takes off his wrist tab and connects his disc player to special goggles. A screamer enters the room, and Hendrik's son shoves Ace out of the way just in time, then opens fire to destroy it. He demands to know why Ace didn't hear it approaching. He checks the goggles and discovers Ace was watching movies. Furious, he destroys the goggles and yells at him to put the wrist tab back on. Examining the screamer, Hendrik's son notices it has an animal-like shape and an upgraded chip. The next day, they continue their journey. Without his music, Ace won't stop talking. They arrive at an old refinery, and Hendrik's son scans the area for enemies. Suddenly, David is shot by hidden soldiers. When they check his wound, they are horrified to find mechanical parts underneath. David is a screamer, a new Type 3 model with a different chip, which Hendrik's son rips out. The boy begins to shriek. Ace points his gun at him, and David grabs the barrel to make him miss, costing Ace his arm. The NEB snipers, Becker and Ross, approach and explain that the screamers have become smarter. They disguise themselves as children so humans will take them into bunkers, where they can kill everyone inside. When the soldiers accuse Hendrik's son of bringing David intentionally, he swears he had no idea and shows them the peace message. Becker agrees to take Hendrik's son and Ace to the NEB bunker, ignoring Ross's objections. Using the ventilation system, they enter the building. Hendrik's son tries to call his own bunker to warn them about the new screamer type, but there is too much interference. As the group settles in, tensions rise and guns are drawn. They are interrupted by Jessica Hansen, a black marketeer, who tells them to behave and shares some whiskey. Hendrik's son speaks with her privately. He learns that the building has not had a mess hall in over 2 years, ever since the screamers began their attacks. When he asks about the marshal, Jessica says he should be in a command bunker with the communications satellite. She also explains that entire waves of David units wiped out most of the soldiers there. Jessica agrees to take Hendrik's son to the command bunker, but in exchange, she wants a ride back to Earth. Hendrik's son explains that Earth has abandoned them and that he can only take her to his bunker. She accepts. He rejoins Ace, who has been exploring and found various dangerous weapons, including plutonium. Hendrik's son reminds him that the Alliance does not use nuclear arms. The group takes an elevator down into the maintenance tunnels. Ross is startled by a noise, but it is just a group of rats. Becker mocks him for being afraid. After walking for a while, they find a grate in the ceiling and open it, causing a body to fall through. They use the grate to reach the next floor, climb a ladder, and finally arrive at the command center. Looking around, they are horrified to find blood everywhere, but no people. Ross breaks down, convinced there is no hope, and starts throwing things off desks. Hendrik's son fires a shot into the air to stop him and tells Ace to shoot him if he makes another sound. He tries to use the computer to contact Earth, but keeps getting an error message. Suddenly, a screamer enters the room. Everyone hides behind the server. The screamer climbs onto the computer, connects its tail, and downloads some data before leaving. When the group comes out, the screamer detects Ross and starts coming back. Ace covers Ross with his own body so his wrist tab can protect them both, fooling the screamer into leaving again. But the moment Ace steps back, the screamer lunges. The men open fire immediately, killing it, but also destroying the computer in the process. As the lights go out, they hear David's voice asking if he can come with them. Hendrik's son orders Ace to evacuate the others while he stays with the computer. He manages to power it back up and scan the chips, accessing the screamer files. David units are moving through the darkness. Hendrik's son can hear them talking as he studies the different models. When a David gets close enough, its face morphs into a horrific monster. Hendrik's son shoots it and flees. At the elevator, Ace is waiting for him, but Ross refuses to get in. In the tunnel, Hendrik's son keeps tripping and falling as David's voice echoes around him. He is startled by a rat on his shoulder, but it is just Ace. The screamers chase them through the tunnel. They make sure to close the door behind them before reaching the elevator. The others have already gone up, and the elevator is slowly descending. As the screamers rattle the door, the elevator finally arrives with Jessica. Hendrik's son and Ace escape. The group reunites on the next floor, and Hendrik's son shares what he learned from the computer. David is a Type 3, the reptile-like screamer is a Type 1, and there is one more type. Jessica explains that the Type 2 disguises itself as a wounded soldier crying for help. They heard one about a month ago, but have not seen it since. Becker remembers that the Type 2 does not speak much and accuses Ross of being one. Just as he is about to open fire, Becker throws a knife into Ross's chest to test him. Ace agrees with the theory because he remembers Ross did not drink the whiskey with them. But when Hendrik's son pulls out the knife, he finds blood. Becker just killed an innocent man. Now Jessica suspects Becker might be a screamer too. She realizes no one knew he existed until 2 days ago. She challenges him to shoot her, but she cannot pull the trigger. As the group leaves the building, Hendrik's son successfully calls the bunker. Becker refuses to apologize for the accident, and Hendrik's son warns he will kill him if necessary. After many hours of walking, they reach the Alliance bunker. Hendrik's son finally gets through to Chuck. He tells him to come out, but Chuck just keeps repeating that Hendrik's son should come in. Suspicious, he demands the door be opened. The group is horrified to see a flood of Davids pouring out of the bunker, each carrying a teddy bear. They open fire immediately, mowing down the children. Underground screamers also emerge, forcing the group to split their attention. When the Davids get too close, they activate flamethrowers to melt them. But more and more keep coming. Hendrik's son reveals that Ace stole a nuclear bomb from the command center and tells him to load it into his weapon. He fires at the bunker, causing a massive explosion that levels the building and knocks out the entire group. By morning, Ace wakes up to hear Becker calling for help, injured. He rushes to his side. But Becker reveals he is a screamer and embraces Ace, crushing him. When Hendrik's son wakes up, Ace is already dead. Becker tosses his body aside and turns on Hendrik's son. Hendrik's son shoots Becker in the face, damaging his cheek but not stopping him. As Becker rambles about screamer philosophy, Hendrik's son grabs heavier ammunition and shoots again, splitting Becker's body in two. Afterward, he tells Jessica there is an emergency shuttle program by the Alliance that they can use to return to Earth, hidden in the mountains. Before leaving, Hendrik's son picks up Becker's chip and notices words in a language he does not recognize. When Jessica asks to see it, he takes the opportunity to slice her hand. She bleeds, confirming she is human. He bandages her wound and apologizes, saying he had to be sure she was not a screamer. He offers to undergo the same test, but she stops him, and they kiss. The couple starts searching for the emergency shuttle. The cold is intense, and Jessica considers giving up. But Hendrik's son tells her she is all he has and promises to take her home. Eventually, he finds a panel under the snow and presses a button, revealing a hidden door in the mountains that leads to a secret hangar. While Jessica takes the elevator to the vehicle bay, Hendrik's son tries to activate the system, but the buttons are not working. He climbs some stairs and opens a fuse box to repair some cables, triggering a countdown. Suddenly, someone punches him. He looks up to find Chuck, who knocks his weapon away and declares that everyone should die alone before shoving him. Hendrik's son saves himself by grabbing a crane hook. Chuck jumps to join him. He reveals he is a Type 2 screamer and explains that Type 2 units can steal people's faces. That is how they got Chuck, and also the marshal who sent the false peace message. He tries to throw Hendrik's son off the crane, but Hendrik's son holds on. Chuck wraps his legs around Hendrickson's neck, strangling him while mocking him about losing his wife. Hendrik's son pulls out a knife and stabs him, but it barely does any damage. He then connects a cable to the knife, electrocuting Chuck and making him fall. When Chuck's body hits a security laser in the hangar, he disintegrates. Hendrik's son descends using the crane and reunites with Jessica. Unfortunately, they discover the shuttle only has space for one person. He resigns himself and tells her to go. She says she cannot, just as a second Jessica appears behind them. This second Jessica reveals she is a Type 4, so advanced that she can even bleed. Furious, Hendrik's son pushes the first Jessica and tries to enter the shuttle, but Type 4 throws him against the crane. She then tries to board the shuttle herself, but the first Jessica gets up and fights her for it. The two Jessicas battle each other, both getting wounded by the security lasers. As Hendrik's son crawls toward a weapon, Type 4 stabs the first Jessica, seemingly defeating her. Hendrik's son shoots the winner, and she shrieks as she falls. At that moment, the shuttle's engines ignite, and the exhaust burns Type 4 until she explodes. The first Jessica tells Hendrik's son she taught him how to love before she dies. After kissing her, he runs into the shuttle and finally takes off, clutching a teddy bear as his only souvenir from that cursed planet. When he removes his wrist tab, the bear begins to move. It is a screamer too. And that is the end of Screamers,